Hello friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start this video with a story about the ultimate workplace revenge, one where the employee won so hard the company couldn't even fire him. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Play stupid labor law games, win stupid employee retention prizes. I used to work as the lumber opener at Home Depot. Basically, I'd come in early in the morning to prep the department before the doors opened, organizing lumber, cutting wood for orders, setting up displays. The night crew was just wrapping up their shift when I'd arrive, so every day I'd see the same handful of guys finishing up their tasks. Well, almost all of them. There was one guy, let's call him Mike, who always seemed to be sweeping between the aisles or lazily mopping near the edges of the store. At first, I assumed he was part of the janitorial crew, but we contracted those services out, and those folks wore a different uniform. Mike was clearly a Home Depot employee, and he wasn't really moving with the urgency of someone who had actual closing tasks. It stuck out to me. After a few days, my curiosity got the best of me. I caught him in a quiet moment and asked, "Hey man, how come you're always just sweeping or mopping? Isn't that the janitor's job?" He gave me this sly smile and said, "Ah, now that's a story." And what a story it was. Mike had been hired as part of the overnight freight team. You know, the crew responsible for unloading trucks and stocking shelves before morning. About a month into his job, he got hurt. Not a life-threatening injury, but enough to warrant a report and a trip to urgent care. The rule, according to company policy and labor law, is that injured employees must be sent home immediately after reporting the injury to prevent exacerbating the issue and protect the company from liability. But Mike's supervisor, probably worried about being short-staffed, asked him to stay around until the end of the shift. He made it sound like no big deal. "Just finish what you can. We're swamped tonight." Mike, being a team player and not wanting to rock the boat, agreed and stayed. A few days later, Mike was at a family reunion and told the story to his uncle, who just happened to be a lawyer. While his uncle didn't specialize in workplace law, he knew enough to raise an eyebrow. That was a clear violation, he told Mike. The company should have sent him home immediately. By keeping him there, even with verbal consent, they opened themselves up to liability. The uncle offered to take on the case pro bono. He explained that these types of violations are often resolved through settlements to avoid the risk of bigger legal fallout. Mike hesitated at first. He didn't want to be that guy or risk losing his job, but eventually he agreed. The result, a settlement, a big one. Now, Mike wasn't allowed to tell me the exact figure. He'd signed an NDA as part of the agreement, but when I jokingly guessed some numbers, he laughed and said, "More than most people think." So, of course, I had to ask the obvious follow-up, "Then why are you still working here doing janitor tasks?" That's when Mike's smile turned downright mischievous. He explained that part of the reason for the settlement was the company's failure to follow protocol. If they were to fire him afterward, it could easily be seen as retaliation. His uncle had made it clear if Home Depot terminated him for anything less than serious misconduct, they'd have another lawsuit on their hands, so the company didn't dare fire him. Instead, they tried to make his life so boring and tedious that he'd quit on his own. They cut his hours, reassigned him from stocking and unloading to pointless tasks like mopping areas that didn't need mopping or sweeping spots the cleaning crew already handled. They thought if they made the job miserable enough, he'd eventually walk away. But Mike was playing the long game. He told me, "I've already got what I need. That settlement money's going toward college. I'm starting next semester. But until then, I'm going to keep showing up on time, wearing the uniform, doing exactly what they assign me, and nothing more." Every shift he clocked in and moved at a snail's pace with a mop in hand was another day management had to eat humble pie. They couldn't touch him. He wasn't breaking any rules. He just wasn't giving them the satisfaction of quitting. And honestly, I respected the hell out of it. Mike turned a bad situation into a win and then rode out the aftermath with the patience of a Zen master and the pettiness of a Greek god. By the time college rolled around, he'd be gone, but not before giving management a daily reminder of how badly they screwed up. As I watched him slowly sweep an already clean aisle the next day with a grin on his face, all I could think was, this guy's a legend. Sometimes the best revenge isn't a lawsuit, it's showing up, doing exactly what they ask, and making them regret ever trying to push you around. I feel like any revenge that ends with the other party paying for a college education is veering into the pro category. our second story. HOA said I was a member. Turns out I'm not. Now I'm coming for my money. When I bought my home in a picturesque golf course community, I expected a few things. Peace, some occasional HOA red tape, and maybe the odd squabble about trash cans or mailbox paint. What I didn't expect to find out, I've been paying hundreds, thousands of dollars into an HOA I don't even belong to. Let me backtrack. The community dates back to the 1950s, but development didn't wrap up until the late 1980s. That's also when the Homeowners Association, HOA, was formed, a few decades after the first houses were already built. Mine built smack in the middle of that timeline in the 1970s. So technically, when the HOA came into existence, my house had already been standing for over a decade. When I moved in, I didn't think twice. I owned homes in HOA neighborhoods before, even served on a few boards. I knew the drill: pay the dues, follow the rules, get the amenities, and I did just that. Like clockwork, I sent in my checks, assuming we were all playing by the same set of standards. That's when things started getting strange. I began noticing certain homes in my section looking like junkyards. I'm talking cars on cinder blocks, high-knee weeds, peeling paint, busted fences. Meanwhile, I was getting reminder notices for things like forgetting to bring in a trash bin or trimming a bush too late. So I did what any reasonable person would do. I asked the HOA property manager what was going on. Their response? "Oh, you live in the old section. You're not technically in the HOA." Excuse me? Not in the HOA? Then what in the hell have I been paying for? Do I get pool access? Nope. Clubhouse key card? Nada. Tennis courts? Not unless I sneak in behind someone else. So let me get this straight. I've been handing over dues to an organization that has zero authority to enforce anything on my neighbors, but can fine me for a leaf out of place? Absolutely not. I started attending board meetings. During public comment, I asked the most basic question: can you provide proof that my property is part of this HOA? They gave me the usual smug corporate shuffle, some story about how some homes opted in, some didn't, and the whole section is a patchwork. Cool story, I asked again. So where's my opt-in paperwork? They went radio silent. So I did what they clearly weren't going to do. I went to the county recorder's office, dug through property filings, covenants, and easement records. Took a while, but it paid off. There was nothing, not a single document tying my property, or several others in my block, to the HOA. No deed restriction, no opt-in paperwork, just crickets. I brought my findings to the board. Again, I asked for documentation. Again, nothing. So I lawyered up. My attorney sent a formal letter requesting written confirmation that my property was not part of the HOA, that I owed nothing moving forward, and that I would not be subject to dues, fines, or enforcement actions. Their response was predictably bureaucratic, full of vague, confusing legal mumbo-jumbo, obviously meant to intimidate, but eventually they folded. Their attorney formally confirmed in writing that my property is not part of the HOA and I do not owe any future dues or assessments. A small but satisfying victory. But I'm not stopping there. Because while I now have proof I was never a member, that hasn't stopped their management company from continuing to send me bills, dues notices, past due letters, friendly reminders about assessments I supposedly owe. I've responded verbally in writing and with a copy of their own lawyer's letter, and they still won't stop. So now I'm escalating. I've compiled documentation of every payment I've made over the years, more than $4,000 between monthly dues and a one-time special assessment I paid to help the HOA settle someone else's lawsuit. Money I never should have paid, services I never received. At the next board meeting, I'm bringing it all. Every receipt, every letter. I'm going to make a public record of the fact that I was never in this HOA and yet was billed and harassed like I was. I'll give them 60 days to cut me a check. After that, it's back to my attorney. We'll file suit, and this time it won't be a polite letter. It'll be a demand for reimbursement, damages, and legal fees, and we'll name the board, the management company, everyone responsible. If they think I'm bluffing, they're in for a rude awakening. Because every HOA has that homeowner, the one who refuses to roll over, the one who reads the fine print, the one who has receipts and knows exactly where to file them. And this time, I am that guy. Let's play. You are that guy now, the one who makes HOA sweat, the one who proves they can't just make up rules and expect blind obedience, and when this is over, They're going to remember your name every time they think about sending another bogus fine. And our last story. Bad day for the HOA. It was a quiet Saturday morning in a small suburban town. I was already used to many quirks of the place, but nothing like this had ever happened to me before. I was driving my old 2006 Toyota Camry, V6, 3.5 liter, fully loaded. My dad had bought it brand new from the dealership years ago, then decided he wanted something calmer, so I bought it from him. The car might have looked a little worn with age, but it was reliable, easy to maintain, and never let me down. Plus, I knew its full service history, so I wasn't planning on replacing it anytime soon. Suddenly, right in the middle of the main street, just outside the HOA pool, a loud horn blared and a shiny ATV with the words HOA Security swerved in front of me, blocking my path. Off jumped a man dressed in what suspiciously resembled a police uniform. Black shirt, striped pants, cap, aviator sunglasses, and a plastic badge on his chest. "Pull over immediately," he barked. I rolled down the window, eyeing this guy with suspicion. "What's the problem?" I asked. "You've got a crack in your windshield. That's a violation of HOA regulations. And also, what even is this car? It doesn't meet the standards of our community." "Community standards?" I raised an eyebrow. "It's a Camry, not a tractor." The guard frowned. "I won't repeat myself. Step out of the vehicle for a citation." I was losing my patience. "A citation? You're not a cop, and I haven't broken any laws. Get out of my way." "You're resisting." He dramatically reached for his taser and handcuffs. I sighed deeply. "Seriously? This is a joke, right?" "No jokes. Get out now." He approached and yanked on my door handle. I flung the door open in one sharp move, nearly knocking him over. "What do you think you're doing?" he yelled, waving the cuffs. "Stop right there," I said sternly. "You have no authority to detain me." "I have authority for everything," he declared, pulling out the taser. "This is your last warning." I had had enough. "Listen carefully. I'm on vacation, but I'm still—" "Don't care if you're the effing president of the United States," he interrupted. He lunged, trying to grab my arm. My Greco-Roman wrestling training kicked in instantly. Within a second, he was on the ground, cuffs clattering by his feet. "I warned you," I said, flashing my real badge. "See this?" His eyes went wide with panic. "Oh, God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean—" I let him up. "All right, but don't let this happen again." He nodded rapidly, then immediately pulled out pepper spray and blasted me right in the eyes. "What the hell?" I screamed, grabbing my face. He jumped back on the ATV and sped off around the corner. I hate pepper spray. It's worse than any taser. Still blinking away the burning, I pulled out my phone and called my colleagues. "Guys, some lunatic in a fake uniform just pepper sprayed me." When they arrived, a whole crowd had gathered, including HOA board members. They all pretended like they had no idea who he was. "We didn't hire any guard like that," claimed the HOA president, nervously tugging at his polo collar. "Funny," I said, wiping my eyes, "because that ATV had your HOA logo on it." After checking surveillance footage, they had no choice but to admit the truth. Turns out the imposter was found a few blocks away. Not only was he not authorized in any way, he was just a resident of the neighborhood who really loved enforcing order. He was arrested for assaulting a police officer, unlawful detention, and impersonating law enforcement. The HOA got slapped with a massive fine for security violations, and the fake cop was permanently banned from the HOA. The funniest part? I wasn't even a member of the HOA. I was just passing through their street, which had no gates or anything. I hope that idiot thinks twice before playing cop in jail, LOL. Honestly, judging by his overconfidence, this probably wasn't his first time abusing fake authority. I bet he's done it 100 times and got away with it. Until now. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.